Hey guys, what's going on? Curtis, that Turbo Dakota, back again. So, still waiting for the converter to come back. So, went ahead and pulled the bed off the truck. So, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you what I'm in the middle of doing. Alright, here's what we got going on. I know I talked about it in the past. What I want to do is take these shocks and move them both behind the axle straight up and down. When I put the 9-inch in the truck, as you can actually get a really good look at right there, what we did is I used the factory locations, which takes those shocks and staggers them. It puts one behind it at an angle and then puts the one in the front where you see the bracket right here and ties into it right about right there. You know, if you own a Dakota, they're all like this. And that was okay and it works, but you know, anytime you lay a shock over like that, you might have to make a lot of adjustment. You see the knobs on the shock, a lot of adjustment before you actually feel anything, and that is because the force we're putting on the shock isn't straight on. Again, they're laid at an angle. So what we want to do is we want to move those shocks straight up and down. So this force we're applying to this shock, you know, is straight in, which will mean that it should take less adjustment from our compression or rebound to see a difference when I go back to the racetrack, in hopes that we can get the 60 down. So I bought a Comp Engineering. It's just like an upper coilover kit. So really all it is this bar, and then it comes with these tabs right here and some bolts. I might be using the factory bolts, but it does come with bolts. The factory ones are a little bit longer. The insert for the shocks for a Dakota are actually a little bit longer than what you might consider standard. But anyway, I was kind of just laying everything in place to see where that bar is going to fall. I have a digital angle gauge that will lay on the shocks. We'll make sure they're straight up and down. But before we do all that, the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and take this bracket that's welded over here to the rear and give you a better look at it. So that's like just a universal shock bracket. So I'm going to take the cutting torch. We're going to go ahead and hack that off. Then we'll have to grind the paint off the other side, pull some measurements, get it tacked into place. I'll probably tack it in, weld it up. Then once I get have the both mounts facing backwards, then what we can do is figure out where we're going to hole saw the frame and slide this bar through it. And then what I'll do is, once we slide the bar down through the frame, I'll take the welder out, we'll TIG weld around it, we'll TIG weld our brackets in, and it'll be a done deal besides adding a little bit of paint. So that's the plan, at least. Hopefully that'll help us get the 60 down. In the future, I do plan on adding what they call an anti-roll bar, especially once we get this fuel tank out of the way. But let me put the camera down and get after it. Okay, I want to catch you guys up. The bracket over on this side is off. You can see it's gone. I took the axle to polish it up. I actually want to show you. This thing right here is from Eastwood. It's their little pneumatic belt sander tool. And I really like it. I've had it for a while now. I've used it just a little bit. This is probably the most I've used it, but it was really nice in taking that tube and running it back and forth because it is spring loaded, so it'll contour around stuff like that. And took it and made quick work of that. So right now I got my little contraption holding up my bracket, and I've got from the axle flange to the bracket symmetrical on both sides. Then I put my little angle finder on it, just like check it on this bracket over here that's down there and put it on that side so I have everything the same. I got my welder out, so I'm getting ready to tack this boy in. I'll check my measurements one more time, get it tacked in, and then I'll start to weld it out. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I gotta double check my angle real quick. So I'm still got almost 90 degrees. I don't know if you guys can see that. 90 degrees there, which that matched the other side. And now I'm going to measure from the axle flange over to the leading edge of the bracket, and I just tack the top corner. So that is about 13 1/16 right there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and release my vice grips. All right, so I think I'm ready to go. I've got the top corner tack right there and the bottom corner. I did, measure a bunch more times. So what I'm going to do next is kind of try to get into some kind of position where I can run some weld on this thing. Wish me luck. She's burned in. I got it. I'll weld for a while, and then I won't weld for a really long time, and I'll have some stuff I have to weld, so I'm kind of self-taught. But I'm happy. I'm happy with the way the thing turned out. That was kind of a weird position, especially, again, I'm not a professional welder. I don't get in there every day and do that. But anyway, and I put my square on it and checked everything, and actually did pretty good. There's a little bit more heat than I wanted, but again, not a professional. Okay, so that's done. It's got to cool off. The next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and bolt my bracket, my shock, and now we have to figure out where this top bar is going to lay. Have the top bar laid out. I measured from the corner of the frame to the bar. I think what I'm going to do, at least what I'm going to try to do, is now that I've got it even from here to the end of the frame, I'll probably take maybe a level on it, get it level, and then scribe a line here and a line here so I know kind of like my boundaries. And then what I have to do is figure out, how far to sink it. I'm going to keep it as far up on the frame as I can, but I have to account for this bend here, because that's not going to let it butt completely up against the top. I had kind of my shocks up here. I'll show you. Like right there. So I kind of put my shocks into position. I put the my level on it, my low electronic level, made sure they were 90 degrees or as close to 90 as I can get them. So I think that's okay. So I'll probably double check everything again, make sure it's all where I want it, scribe my lines, and then we will start. The most nerve-wracking part is trying to hole saw at the frame here and on the other side to try to keep that bar square. I'm not looking forward to this part. I did get something else I want to show you guys real quick. I know I talked about an anti-roll bar, so I bought a TRZ weld-in anti-roll bar. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a rigid mount sway bar. So there's the end caps. So this part, notch part right here, are kind of fit like this. We'll have to cut the bar down, and then you have the ends that get welded to the tube, and then this is a kit to make your links. Comes with the Heims. That's going to happen after I get the shocks done, because I've seen some people put it in front of the frame. My issue as of right now is obviously the gas tank, right? At some point, that gas tank's going to disappear when we get the fuel cell, if it ever shows up. It's been stuck in customs since February, so I hope it's not lost. So that's about killing me. But for right now, I'm just going to concentrate on the shocks. And then once we get the shock set up, I'm going to see about where it plays out. It's kind of hard for the Dakota because once you start lowering it like this, I don't plan on lowering it any more than it is right now. As far as the rod height for the truck, I like the way it sits. I got like 7 inches of travel up front. I should be fine. But you lower it, the axle gets close to the frame, and then you kind of struggle, especially like with the shocks. You can see how far down they have to be extended. I can get a little bit shorter of a shock, but it's one of those things where, like, because I don't have a lot of space between the frame, you know, and the axle. Everything's kind of just like cramped in there. So that's why I don't know if the, you know, the roll bar is going to work better in the back, or I need to wait until I get the fuel cell and get that out of the way, put another bar in it and put it on the front side. But we'll see how it goes. So let me get this stuff marked out, you know, and we're just going to keep busting through this thing. Okay, so I want to walk you guys through what I got going on. Like I said, I've got the bar in the frame. I measured from this point here to the bar, made it even. I put some vice grips on it to hold it still. Then what I do is I put my level on my shock. I make sure my shock's straight up and down. So I got all that. So from there, like, I know where I want to put my bar. Now we have to worry about, you know, the depth. So what I did was I laid a level across here. If you can see it, I scribed 2 lines. So now I know kind of like what the boundaries of where the bar needs to be placed. So I did that on both sides. Now what we got to do is figure out, I want to try to keep it as far the top of the frame rail as possible. So I know the bar is 1 5/8, and I know the thickness of the frame rail. The only other thing I have to account for is this right here, how the frame rail is rolled. And I'll show you with this socket, which you got to be careful of, is like that's parallel, but once you get up to a certain point, it's going to start to try to kick the socket. So, and that's basically what I got to be careful of, is I want to make sure it's sunk down enough in the frame that the thing's still going to be, you know, it's not going to put it at some kind of crazy angle. So that's what I'm accounting for next. So I'll get those measurements. Once I figure that out, which I'm almost there now, then I know I can go straight down here, scribe another line, find the center punch it, and we'll know where to put our hole saws. So again, I just want to give you the thought process if you're doing this. It probably doesn't have to be this critical, but it's one of those things where, you know, measure twice, cut once. I want it to come out nice. I want that bar to be parallel. The fit up, because I'm TIG welding it all in, the fit up needs to be better than it would be if you were to MIG it. MIG it's a little bit more forgiving. TIG, you want the tightest fit up that you can get. So that's what we are working on right now. Okay, I wanted you guys to witness on camera me getting ready to drill this frame. Full holes, had to get a 5/8 hole saw right there. Spray a little bit of penetrating lube on the frame. Already got my pilots drilled. Let's do it. Almost. There's one. Time to move on to the next one. All right, let's do it again. All right, there's number 2. I guess the moment of truth is I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up real quick. Go ahead and slide that bar down where it needs to go. The holes look pretty good. They look like they're inside my scribe mark that I made, if you can see it. So let's see what happens next. All right, bars in. So I think what I'm going to do is I checked it for level. It is nice and level. I checked the distance from the frame to the bar. Everything looks really good. I'm happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and split the difference for the stick out, put a couple tacks on it. Then I'm going to go ahead and tack each one of the shock mount tabs up one at a time. I already got the bar cleaned off, the raw metal in the frame. I'm still going to take the tabs off and clean them up. But that is what I'm working on right now. Everything is tacked in. I checked my measurements and checked and checked and checked and checked. So everything is sitting just like I like it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and weld the tabs on here. I got to weld the bar in the frame as well, so we'll get that knocked out. And then I can start trying to see whether or not this anti-roll bar is going to work the way I want it to. You can kind of see it right there. We'll see. Let me get all this stuff. I'm more worried about this stuff first, and then we'll hold that anti-roll bar up with the ends and kind of see how it's going to play out. What I'm worried about is the distance from the arms to the housing being too short. You know, you want to get the link arms as far outside as you can, which that's not a problem, but the distance, this distance right here, so that's really where it might take a little bit of ingenuity. Or again, if I have to, I might just have to wait and put that thing in the front once that fuel cell gets here. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff burning. Bit of an update. I started messing around with the anti-roll bar. I got the bar cut down to length. I just finished burning the arms in. So the arms are in. I had to hone out the bushings. I think I do have a little bit more honing to do to get that thing, because it should, you know, when it's inside them bushings, it should move really, really free, so it shouldn't bind up. Once this stuff cools off, we'll take everything, I'll finish honing it. We're gonna take it back over here to the truck. I've been using these hose clamps, and then we'll go ahead, hose clamp it in, get it kind of adjusted like I want it, and then I'll start working on the end links. So I think it's definitely gonna work out the way I wanted. The nice part about this is when the suspension separates, those arms will actually move down. The only time they're gonna move up is when it compresses, and it really doesn't have much room to compress. There's probably only 3 inches between the tube and the frame, and I need to put the bump stops in it. One of my concerns were those arms were gonna come up and whack the top of the bed, but it really shouldn't be the case. So once I get all that stuff set, I'll grind some paint off. I'll have to tack the tabs and I'll get everything tacked in. This bar still isn't welded in. And what I do is once everything's tacked in, I can actually roll this, unhook the shocks, roll the bar up and get that welded in, get the tabs welded in, and that should be it. Then I can get everything painted up. Oh yeah, and I have to finish the links. It comes with some pieces of bar with the heims that slip down in there. So I'll have to build the links too. You see I got the tab bolted in there. But just wanted to give you guys a quick update as I'm bumping along. Starting to look like something. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Okay, I want to show you guys what we got. Our bar is welded in, and our roll bar is hooked up. Tabs are welded on both sides. All I'm gonna do is clean everything up, scuff it, clean it. We're gonna put some paint on it, and that should be it. I'm gonna put the bump stops back on the frame, something I had off. I kind of want to put back on. The way I had to mount this thing, it has room through here, but it'll hit the bump stops before the arm's gonna smack the upper shock mount. But I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. And our roll bar moves nice and free on its own. All in all, it turned out pretty good. I had a hard time, a little bit of a rough time getting a TIG torch in there to get this tabs welded on, but I got it. Nonetheless, I got it. I might take a sanding drum or something and kind of knock it down a little bit. But all in all, it came out pretty good. So we'll get her painted up. Thanks for watching. This is kind of boring. This isn't anybody's thing, but again, if you have a Dakota and you're using stock gas tank, this will probably work out for you, because it appears to be working out for me. Still waiting on the converter to come back for the trans. Hopefully I get that back soon, and we'll get this thing back out on the street and do some tuning. Thanks for watching. See ya.